Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. It's a new week, and guess what? This week brings us 1 week closer to the kickoff of the NFL season. And look at this. Oh my Lord. 73 days, 12 hours, 4 minutes, and 15 seconds away from kickoff of the 2023 season. And Lord knows we need this to get here. We needed to get here because it's getting crazy out here. Philly 500 is just literally, I think his head is imploding. He is literally spamming the hell out of me daily. He's taking clips of me left and right and putting them together. He's getting as bad as Frank Joseph with the videos on Mark Holmes. He's just going crazy. But I'll get back to Philly 500 in a few minutes here. Interesting take here. Micah Parsons, I believe he's bitch slapping the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I guess he no longer wants to be a Philadelphia Eagle player. Okay, Eagle fans, apparently he wants to be a New York Giant. Pause. I'm just checking out Rashid's response here because he went on the defense of Daniel Jones. Believe it or not. He basically, in fact, here, let me play the clip here because I know my man Rashid was like, oh, not Nick Wright. Well, Nick Wright doesn't really say much in here, but this is an interesting thing that happened over the Super Bowl. Let's listen in on this. This is pretty cool.
You want to hear a funny story about him quick?
Funny story. Yeah.
When I was at the Super Bowl, Micah Parsons stole my cell phone to use it to compare Daniel Jones to Jalen Hurts stats and was making an impassioned argument on our FanDuel set for about 30 minutes that Daniel Jones wasn't any worse than Jalen Hurts.
That Jalen Hurts was
Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players I've seen, and he's clearly also trying to do our jobs. Like, that guy has takes.
Yeah, he stole my phone so he could put his phone next to my phone to have both stats up at the same time to make his argument.
Were you swayed?
I mean, you just said it. He's one of the best defensive players in the league, and he sees both guys twice a year, and he doesn't think there's a big difference or any difference between the two guys. So
that's strong.
So,
want to hear a funny?
Do you believe that? Now, here's where, people think that the reason that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl last year was because of Jalen Hurts, and that none of the other things that happened, like having the best offensive line, matter. Not getting A.J. Brown didn't matter. Didn't matter that you have a great, one of the top 5 tight ends in Dallas Goedert. That you could take away all of those things and that Jalen Hurts would still be playing in the Super Bowl. But here's the reality. And this is a case that, unfortunately, Rashid being here is forcing me to do more work and stuff and to go ahead and cut a little bit of slack to Daniel Jones, who does not have great weapons. When he took over for the New York Giants, he had a shitty offensive line because they couldn't draft, They ended up drafting, what was the bust that you got? First round pick, offensive lineman, went to Washington, tackle.
That's why he went to Washington. I don't remember his
Yeah,
name.
see, look, I can't even remember, but first round pick. But they had a terrible offensive line when Eli was still here. They've been trying to get receivers, and why they keep drafting wide receivers that suck, I don't know. But they've been trying. He doesn't have a great supporting cast. He does have Barkley, but Barkley's been injured, with the exception of last year. So if you look at the situation and say the New York Giants then all of a sudden have a great offensive line, and if you all of a sudden say you've got Devontae Smith and, Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown, I guarantee you that Daniel Jones' stats will be a lot better than what they were. And the reverse case is if you put Jalen Hurts on the New York Giants, he's not going to the Super Bowl. That team is ass. They're ass. And those things seem to matter. People don't look at the Cowboys' offensive line no longer being the dominating offensive line that they once were, that we lost Tyron Smith for the majority of the season, that we lost, Terrence Steele, who was a rookie undrafted free agent, that we lost that guy, that we never really found a left guard, and that our offensive line was in flux, that we had a Michael Gallup who was not ever healthy, and that, Noah Brown might not make the Texans roster, and you had a CeeDee Lamb. So you looked at that and said, some things do make a difference. And I will put in there, Dak Prescott broke his thumb, an aging running back who hyperextended his knee. You can say they're excuses, but they're reasons why teams don't succeed. So it would be interesting to see if you could, for an experiment, just switch those guys up. Now, the real question is does Micah Parsons want to be a New York Giant? Because we know how that speculation goes, don't we? Yeah. Interesting thing. You remember Jerry Jones said before the draft that drafting's not our problem. And everybody kind of looked at Mike McCarthy and was kind of like, I think he's talking about you now. Troy Aikman kind of reiterated that a little bit this weekend, basically saying that the Cowboys have gotten great players. The problem with the Cowboys has been more situational football, which, thank you, Captain Obvious. The Cowboys have made a lot of mistakes a lot of times in crunch time. I mean, you saw the muddle huddle there where Zeke Elliott's literally the center. I'd like to see who came up with that one. The Dak Prescott running play where, at the end of the game where, had he gotten down sooner, maybe we had a chance to get one more play and maybe win the game. Those things do make a difference, clock management and stuff. And those are things that we do need to tweak and do better. And here's where I will say the Cowboys, to me, from the time they fired Jason Garrett, have been going through an evolution of what they're doing. They're doing things a little bit different. Now, Jerry Jones is always going to be in the front and center, but Jerry Jones, you can see with Dan Quinn was, after Mike Nolan was a complete disaster, and they realized we need to get somebody who understands what they're doing. They let Dan Quinn be Dan Quinn and to decide the type of defense he wanted to run, the type of players that he did. And you see the Cowboys, for once, they drafted not just Mozzie Smith in the first round, but before that we got John Ridgeway. We ended up getting Quentin Bohannon. That's a position that the Cowboys did not draft in, is the defensive line. They're recognizing, because Dan Quinn basically says, I need the horses up front, or should I say the roll-off dumpsters full of dirt, to make this thing go. And you've seen him evolve and bring a defense that on paper could be one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL. It feels like getting rid of Kellen Moore, another one of the final ties from the Jason Garrett error, not era, error, because there was an error keeping him for that long. You feel like Mike McCarthy is getting the control that Jason Garrett never had. You can see how getting rid of Zeke Elliott, that it's an evolution of what they're planning on doing, that it's a sea change, that we're actually changing the offense to the Dallas Coast offense, which we have basically seen the same offense since the 90s carrying on through. So I feel good about all those things. Now, we do need to get to training camp. We need to get some real football talk. I will say, I'm hopeful that my Cowboys can make the Super Bowl. I'm hoping that my team will be good. But I have not been saying I guarantee anything, because anything can happen. You can lose your quarterback or your linebackers or your offensive line. You can get the officials that make bad calls here and there. Football is totally unpredictable. Philly is about as confident as they can be. Literally, like I was talking about Philly 500, he gets so triggered and his mouth is the mouth almighty. I mean, just literally. You just can't take it anymore. Checkmate. Eagles are better at every level. at every level? Seriously, Philly? House divided. Mark Holmes won't do. Here's how bad it is. Let's go to the tape.
How you know you got a Cowboys fan in Checkmate? They have to start talking about their 5 rings.
Philly,
Look,
this is all.
that's what you got.
It's small. It's tiny. It's tiny.
Just one.
One tiny one.
Just one. I'm going to go back and get 5 more. So that way we'll put 5 by Joe Boo and we'll put 1 by Jet Row. Okay.
So now you want to respect history? Well, let's respect history. I'm your Huckleberry.
You want a war? You're going to get one.
What was that? He had enough time for one more play. Had an opportunity to win that game again. But the referee screwed us. The brother screwed us. I'm upset, but the brother screwed us.
At least they fought back and tried.
Only Cowboys game.
You literally.
The brother screwed us. The brother screwed us. Yeah, we had one man opportunity for one more play.
Dallas still stinks.
Oh, Lordy.
You might do it, King Dick back here. I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. Let me first thank each and every one of you guys for joining me on this special event. We are going to perform a double moonwalking out of the ass.
Double moonwalking out the ass.
It's only June, but it must be done because it is funny. Cowboy fans always accusing Eagle fans of what they do. And I'm going to have to double moonwalk.
Double moonwalk that ass.
Now, before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, you like the content, make sure you hit that like button. More importantly, make sure you subscribe to the most censored, the most throttled,
The most throttled.
Eagles content creator in all of the internet. And if you've been subscribed for a while, I just want to thank you so much for all the support you give to me. Now, it is June. It is late June. I am relaxing, trying to enjoy my weekend, and I wake up to Mark Holmes doing videos on me. And in his video, like, everything the guy says is not right. It is not accurate. See, what happened is...
what happened what happened was...
He does about 10, 12 videos a day. 2 or 3 of them are usually about the Eagles or me. Okay, but then I get accused of always doing videos on him. I only respond to him. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
And I happened to do a video the other day.
And
I was talking about the comments that Dak Prescott made about winning the Super Bowl. And I think it's funny. I think he's a comedian. I think he's a jokester. It's absolutely hilarious. Well, boy, did Mark Holmes lose his mind. And I can tell you, Mark Holmes is going to lose his mind this year. You can see the pressure of Dak Prescott's career is all on the shoulders of Mark Holmes. It's all on the shoulders of him and many other Cowboy fans because they realize the excuses are running out. They only have so many more excuses. You can't have a guy go 8, 9 years and can't get past the second round of the playoffs. At some point, responsibility has to come forth and be put on him. Now, in that video that I did, the only thing I asked from Mark Holmes was, are you going to hold Dak Prescott responsible? He ignored the question. He never answered the question. And it's something that I still want to know. And then, well, I guess in some ways I got my answer today. Because he does a video talking about how you can't blame Dak Prescott. He had no weapons. He had no Brown, this, that, the other. It's so funny to me because the year before, we went to the Super Bowl. The year we lost to Tampa Bay, he's talking about how we lost to Tampa Bay and Jalen Hurts this, Jalen Hurts that. But when you say, listen, we need more weapons, we need this, oh, you can't say that.
Well, no, Philly. See, that's where you lie there. And I agree. Exactly. Jalen Hurts was ass against Tampa Bay. What did you do? You went out and you got him some weapons, and that made all the difference in the world. In the same case for making Daniel Jones a legitimate NFL quarterback. Pause.
But when it's Dak Prescott, it's totally okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your owner's a moron. I'm sorry that Jerry Jones, being 3,030 years old,
3,030 years old.
The guy turned 3,031 years old, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. All he's got is electricity that shoots out of his fingers like Emperor Palpatine. That's it. I mean, that's what happens when you turn 3,032 years old. He's still walking, he's still moving, taking more liver pills than my uncle, but he's still moving around. 3,334 years old is a pretty big feat. I mean, hey, maybe I'll live to 3,335 years old. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is, the guy is senile at 3,336 years old, and he let Amari Cooper go, he let weapons go, and the Dallas Cowboys took a few steps back. However, even before he turned 3,337 years old and decided to go out and get Cooks and Stephon Gilmore, they had teams that should have been able to go far in the playoffs. They should have been able to go deep, and they couldn't do anything because Dak Prescott could never rise to the occasion. And Mark Holmes is pissed off about it. He is absolutely pissed off about it, and he is not going to be, I'm telling you all right now, he is not going to be able to handle this year.
I'm not going to be able to handle this year.
It's June. He's already melting down.
Oh.
The guy went to like some trophy award thing or whatever. He goes and they sign his own fans, his own fan base. He starts talking about the 5 Super Bowl rings, and then he starts saying that if you can't respect history, then you can't talk about the 5 rings. And no Cowboy, you don't know about all the players that won those 5 rings, you shouldn't talk.
You shouldn't.
Cowboy. Look, there you go. Look, those seats, you can't sit on them. They've been autographed by the great of the great. See, he can talk about we got 5 rings. See, if you don't know anything about the guys that earned those 5 rings, do not say we got 5 rings. Right?
There you go.
There you go. So that's
when they don't.
That's right. When they don't. There you go. So
That's
my beef. That's my beef with some of you guys out there. We got 5 rings, and it's like you don't care about Drew Pearson. You don't care about Roger Staubach. You don't care about Bob Lilly. Those are the guys that earned those rings, and they deserve your respect. Amen.
You have.
So I don't see anything wrong with that statement. It's the truth, okay? It's kind of like saying, I believe in God, or God help me, this, that, and the other, but you don't know anything about what the Lord has done. I mean, it's like using his name in vain. But, I remember going to Drew Pearson's after party where the Cowboy royalty, when you talk about Bob Lilly being there, when you talk about Tony Dorsett being there, when you talk about Cliff Harris being there, when you talk about, he just passed away. Oh my God, offensive tackle. Oh my God, I'm having a brain fart. Rayfield Wright being there. You had Michael Irvin there. You had Charles Haley there. You had, the greatest of the great there all in one place, and we're losing those guys, and people don't care about those guys. Those are the guys that earned those 5 rings. Now, I understand Philadelphia, you don't have that kind of a lineage because you didn't have any of those guys winning 5 rings. You only got the guys from 2017, that most of which are gone elsewhere now, or maybe not even in the league. But we have a storied franchise and a storied history. And when you say we got 5 rings, at least understand the guys that got us those 5 rings. That's my point. And if you got a problem with me saying that, well, I'm sorry, then you're not really a Dallas Cowboy fan. People will accuse me of just being a Dak Prescott fan like I just got to the party in 2016. No, I've been at this party from the beginning, before any of these 5 rings were won. And I understand and I appreciate and I know what they did to get there. And I'm hoping that this group of guys can end up being that perfect storm, because let's be real. It takes a perfect storm to end up making it to the Super Bowl. It's not always the best team. It's having everything fall in place. The officials don't screw you. The brother doesn't screw you, so to speak. You got health. You get the right plays. The ball bounces your way. And even with all of those things, sometimes it's just not enough. The Eagles went out, and I'm going to say the Eagles were the best team in the NFC. They went out and did everything that they could to get that Super Bowl. They had health on their side. They ended up having Brock Purdy get injured in the game. They played the New York Giants in the first round of the playoffs. They had everything lining up, and that still wasn't enough for them to win the Super Bowl. It's hard. It's hard. There's only been 56 champions out of all those teams, all of those years. And I hope that we see the Cowboys back there again soon. I will say, in my opinion, we're a lot closer today than we were 4 years ago. And that this team is headed in the right direction. You may disagree with me. You may be one of these blowhard Eagle fans, and they're a good team. I'm not going to dispute that. But I don't know that they're all what everybody is saying they are. And when they fail, when they fall flat on their face, I'm going to be there going, ha ha! As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Hope you tune in to our live stream later on tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern. And if there's any news, which right now it's kind of dead zone, we'll be sure to bring it to you.
Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.